And talking about Dalton Knecht here, before we talk about if they'll trade him or if they should trade him, I think we gotta break down what he did this season, both the pros and the cons to it, and where he might be able to go from here. So to begin, simply from a numbers standpoint, Dalton Knecht had a pretty solid rookie year, playing in 78 games, which probably would have been all 82 if not for the Luka Doncic trade and him eventually falling out of the rotation. But in the 78 games that he did play, Knecht put up a solid 9.1 points per game, 2.8 rebounds per game, about 1 assist per game, and then shooting 46.1% from the field and 37.6% from 3 on 4.4 attempts per game, or per 36-minute average, 8.2 attempts per game on a very good shooting efficiency from 3. So yeah, definitely showing potential, maybe not the most on defense or not quite to what we want him to be on defense yet, but he showed a lot of offensive ability that very few NBA players actually have. Not only being a catch and shoot guy from 3, which he definitely can do and at a very high level, but a legitimate movement shooter, something that head coach JJ Redick himself was in the NBA, something they could relate to, and probably why Dalton Knecht initially kind of went under JJ Redick's wing, but maybe eventually that did sour toward the end. Like I mentioned, they did try to trade him, or maybe not try to trade him, but did include him in a trade, which eventually fell through. And then even apart from that, after the trade fell through, Dalton Knecht did eventually fall out of the rotation, JJ Redick's rotation, not being included in their final regular season game rotations, at least not the important ones, and then barely playing in the postseason, coming out to a grand total of 3.7 minutes of playing time. And yes, 3.7, not 37. Yeah, we are talking about a rookie here, but a guy that was part of the rotation for a large majority of the season, only to eventually not be a part of it and not during the most important part. And you can argue that he wouldn't have helped them, you can argue that he would have helped them, it's really a toss-up here. At the end of the day, the Lakers needed more front court help, not really backcourt help, but maybe he could have helped them and gave them a spark off the bench. Definitely not saying he couldn't. I mean, we've seen Dalton Knecht drop 20 straight points before, light teams up for 30, both during the preseason and regular season, and have some pretty good games against a few good opponents. But what it comes down to here is what the Lakers need most, and will they trade Dalton Knecht to get it? That's definitely up for debate. Like I said, they already showed they're willing to trade Dalton Knecht in pursuit of a center, but it's definitely got to be the right center, which for them, Mark Williams was not. We've talked about it and talked about the details about why they did not make the trade, the failed physical examination. A report came out last week that they quote-unquote could simply not live with what they saw in regard to Mark Williams' physical examination, or rather failed physical. So they decided to back out of it, not trade Dalton Knecht for him, not trade their final tradable first-round draft pick, even though it definitely was a position they needed, simply couldn't go through with it for Mark Williams. But with that in mind here, will they once again include Dalton Knecht in a trade? Will it be for their highly sought after center that they've talked so much about? Or will they keep him and find a different way to upgrade that position? Well, if we're talking about Dalton Knecht here and what he's got to show them, obviously simply development in general, but primarily about his defense. Last season, Dalton Knecht ranked in the first percentile in defense, as in the bad way in first percentile, not in the top 1 percentile, but in the bottom 1 percentile, having a negative 2.3 defensive EPM. That's a bottom 15 rating in the entire NBA, and that's definitely got to be improved upon for next season. Whether he wants to become a bigger part of the rotation, an eventual member of their starting lineup, or simply to be off the trade block for their team, that's got to be first and foremost for him. But like I said with Mark Williams, and maybe why they did not go through with the trade for him, that might have been partially from his defense too. I mean, talking about Dalton Knecht being a bottom 15 defender, Mark Williams ranked in the bottom 30 in defensive EPM, which for a center is absolutely terrible, having a negative 1.6 defensive EPM, being in the 7th percentile, once again very awful for a center, and showing that he probably was not the answer to their defensive issues in their front court. And well, with the Lakers now having brought in Luka Doncic and really built their future around him, a guy that's not known for his defense and probably never will, even though he definitely was hurt throughout the postseason and would benefit from losing some weight too. But at the end of the day here, he'll never be a great defender, and to compensate for that, they're going to put good defenders around him, both in their front court and their back court, which Dalton Knecht does have to be aware of. If he never becomes at least average on defense, that might be a pretty difficult pairing. Now obviously they could separate their minutes, and probably what they plan to do if they keep Dalton Knecht, but they probably want to play them together, have that dangerous offensive pairing, if possible, have them on the court together and take advantage of what they can do, but they don't want to lose out on defense. So that's got to be a priority for Dalton Knecht, improving on defense, becoming at least average on defense, which I definitely think he does have the ability to do. I mean, he did show good moments throughout his rookie year. It mostly came down to his team defense and not really knowing where to be on the court, rather than individual athletic ability, not being able to keep up with the speed of the NBA, or not being athletic enough to defend his matchup, or even big enough for that fact. That's not the problem for him. It really comes down to the little things. Like I said, knowing where to be on the court, knowing defensive schemes and when to rotate and where to rotate. That's gotta be something that Knecht figures out, which I'm actually pretty confident in his ability to do. No, not to become a lockdown defender or top tier defender, but to simply become average. That I think he can and should have the ability to do. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.